Well, that's them. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's my family. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? That's my uncle. They're ignorant. They're from a different time. They're ignorant. They're ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody wants their revolutionary brother to pop his head up again. The country will change again. How does the disavowal of the revolutionary brother and the warmongering bigot help everyday Americans? Right? Because the revolutionary brother was ridiculed and ejected, and the warmongering bigots they're an endangered species by their own. And I just want to know, how has that helped everyday American people? How has that helped any of us? Like, has it made life better for us? You know what I'm saying? Did the neutralization of those who kick up dust and ask hard questions make our country a better place to live? Is it more prosperous? Is it more safe? You dig? Is it leading to more ingenuity? Are we inventing things? You know, are we improving the quality of life for people? Peace on earth, right? I'm not sure, because now politicians don't have to answer to people. Like, the politicians don't have to answer to anybody except for their donors, the donor class. They talk about them, the Epstein class, you dig? The Muriel Adelsons and people like that there. And you just had a senator pass away, Lindsey Graham. If you don't know who Lindsey Graham is, look him up. He's very pro-Israel, very much hooked in with the quote-unquote neocons. Neocon is a term for a neoconservative, which is like the new Republican Party. And neoconservatism, look at it like neo-soul. It's almost like a rejuvenation, but it's different. It's like 2.0, you dig? And the question that I ask is, did the warmongering bigot keep the political class on their toes? Like, did they keep them in line to not go too crazy and backstab the people? Because back then, man, you had a president such as Andrew Jackson, who was referred to as the president of the common man. You dig what I'm saying? You got FDR, who did a lot of things to improve life for a lot of people. And I'm just wondering that after the assassination of Kennedy, because that's what they love to talk about, I'm just wondering, is that why they say he was the last great president? Is because at that point, what happened in the 60s wasn't just revolutionary for no reason. You know what I mean? The 60s changed America as they knew it. I've never was there, so I don't know it to be anything. I just know from the research. And I believe that warmongering bigot had a lot to do with how the country was ran back then. And after that sort of, I don't even know what you call it, because they would assassinate politicians all the time. You know, Abraham Lincoln, another famous president who got murked. And then all the other presidents who basically had to do what they was told, you know what I mean? Because the government was so corrupt at the time. And I believe the warmongering bigot had something to do with that corruption. And the revolutionary spirit of the revolutionary brothers of the 60s completely changed the dynamics of this country, man, to which it has never returned. Now, people want to complain about MAGA and Make America Great Again. They're talking about pre-1960s, but it wasn't good for all of y'all. It wasn't. The warmongering bigot didn't just have his boot on black folk neck. He had his boot on poor white folk necks. And the only thing that white folks ever cared about was the fact that they were a step above us. And so you have some poor ignorant, can't read and write, barefoot, tobacco chewing, smell like grease and bacon tell you, well, at least I ain't a nigger. And that's better than being you. So they wasn't treating them right either. And this is after the Civil War I'm talking about. It got nothing to do with the Civil War, which y'all love to bring up all the time. But I'm just wondering if at that time, politicians were doing things that were more fair for the people when it was time, when it was caused to. And those who didn't have what the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and them had, they were fine with it so much as long as they were treated better than black folk and they could do anything they wanted to do to a black person and wouldn't, there would be no justice. You dig? There would be no prosecution. And that's how they blew off steam. Well, the 1960s changed all of that. I mean, as far as it being legal and illegal, right? And putting laws on the books that help everyday Americans, people that aren't even from this country, are able to benefit from the laws and things that were changed during the 1960s. That was led by the revolutionary brother who was in response to the warmongering bigot. Without the warmongering bigot, you have no need for the revolutionary brother. And so to quiet down the revolutionary brother, not only through ridicule and everything else. The warmongering bigot had to be looked at as, well, that's them. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's my family. That's not me. You know what I'm saying? That's my uncle. They're ignorant. They're from a different time. They're ignorant. They're ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody wants their revolutionary brother to pop his head up again. The country would change again. But sad to say, the revolutionary brother is gone and he ain't coming back. He ain't coming back because the people are in worse shape. But just going back to the warmongering bigot, you know what I'm saying, and the history of political assassinations in this country, who take issue with a politician not behaving in a desired manner, they knew how to correct it. And the politicians today who take money from the donor class neglect the common man in favor of policies that hurt everyday Americans. You dig? Whatever it is that their donors want them to do, whatever it is that foreign entities who have paid and funded their campaigns want them to do, that shall be done. You dig? And it's to the point where even somebody like Thomas Massey loses his congressional seat because the donors say, this is what we want. If you won't do it, we'll find somebody who will. And you don't have that warmongering bigot. He's old now. You dig? His sons and nephews and grandkids and whatnot, they don't have it in them because that Generation X was something else. Not just them boomers, because them boomers, they had it too. That was they daddies in them. So they was them little kids at the picnics where they pick a nigga to kill and then hang them and burn them. They was the ones standing beneath them pointing and smiling. So that's the boomers. But the Gen X, why you think it's called Gen X? You dig? The Gen X had a whole different thing because they grew up in the 70s. So they grew up with purple haze all in my brain. You dig? They grew up idolizing people like Jimi Hendrix. They grew up listening to the blues and idolizing those famous guitar players, Chuck Berry. You dig what I'm saying? B.B. King, even Little Richard. So they wasn't put under that same spell. You dig? And then they had us, the millennials. And again, us playing, like our parents, like I remember I told my pop, I was talking to my pops about some of my white boy friends that I had in high school and whatnot. And I was talking about one of them in particular. And when I was talking about it, he said, so-and-so, so-and-so. I'm like, who is that? He was like, nah, it's nobody. Just white boy I was cool with in high school too. I was like, you had a white friend? Like, I was completely flabbergasted. He was like, yeah. Because I had never seen my father with a white dude. Never seen my father with a white boy in no way, shape, or form. Didn't hang out with him. They didn't come by the house. They didn't come by the neighborhood. Never seen it. So I was aghast to learn that my father had a white friend in high school. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. Gen X. But that separation, that expiration date. So here we are, millennials. We like to fancy ourselves as better. Maybe the friendships last a little longer. Maybe there are times where we are able to get together post-high school, post-college. But for the most part, things kind of settle in. Like when you have a smoothie or a juice, and if you don't shake it up, all of those stuff settle at the bottom. So you got to shake it back up for it to be right again. Well, that's kind of how our friendships are. And you don't have necessarily that warmongering bigot. You dig what I'm saying? And maybe they not soy boys, so to speak, but at the same time, they don't have that same level of influence and they can't really affect change. And you see it. You see it with some of the podcasters, Tucker Carlson, Tim Dillon. You know what I'm saying? These political podcasters who can't agitate the public enough for them to take action. Yeah, they'll get on X. They'll get on Twitter and talk crazy. They'll get on Facebook and complain and say things. They'll even march alongside black folk. Will you believe it? Ain't that a pip? They'll even march on the side of black folk, but in reality, them politicians not finna do what y'all want them to do. You know why? Because there are no more revolutionary brothers. And those warmongering bigots are so old, and they got their money. They ain't tripping. You know what I'm saying? They the ones still taking care of their sons and grandsons. Ain't that a funny thing? You know what I'm saying? Y'all, my grandpa. Y'all like my grandpa somebody to death. Y'all like grandpa them to death, but at the same time, don't like them because you know they bigoted. Don't like them because you know they racist. But at the same time, how is they able to not only take care of themselves, take care of their wife, take care of your daddy and them, and now take care of you? And at the time where they was coming up, the politicians, for the most part, did what they wanted them to do. Otherwise, they was on the wrong end of a shotgun. And who do you think was also dressing up in them robes? It wasn't just hick hillbilly farmers. You dig? It was barbers, it was lawyers, it was governors, it was mayors, it was sheriffs that would put them Klan robes on and come terrorize you in the middle of the night. So the warmongering bigot was the law. The warmongering bigot was the politician. And they still are there. You still got them. They all old and passing away now.